What if I told you that you could automatically find the week's top performing social media posts, analyze what makes them work, and turn them into content ideas for your own accounts, all while you sleep? Here's the thing. Most content creators are stuck in this endless cycle. They spend hours scrolling through LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok trying to find inspiration. Then they waste even more time trying to figure out why certain posts went viral while others flopped. And by the time they've analyzed what worked, the trend has already moved on. Well, today, I'm going to show you how to build a social media intelligence dashboard that does all of this heavy lifting for you. This system automatically hunts down the top performing posts from the past week across LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, analyzes exactly what made them successful, and even writes content scripts based on those insights. I've been using this exact system for the past 3 months, and it has completely transformed how I create content. Instead of spending 5 to 6 hours every week researching and planning posts, I now spend about 30 minutes reviewing the dashboard's findings and selecting which ideas to move forward with. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have your own automated intelligence dashboard running on Airtable and n8n. Every Monday morning, you'll wake up to a fresh batch of high-performing content insights, complete with analysis of what made each post successful and ready-to-use scripts and carousel plans for your own content. The best part, you don't need any coding experience to build this. So let's go ahead and see how the Instagram part of this workflow works. So we're making an HTTP request. We found 12 items. Out of that, we filtered 9 on the first level. We filtered 4 on the next level. And we have 3 reels and 1 carousel. So we did our carousel analysis and we saved that to Airtable. And now we're doing our reel analysis. It's already done 1. It's going to go down the loop again, do the second reel, and then it's going to do the third reel and save the results to Airtable. So now that this is done, I'm just going to go ahead and hit stop for now. And if we pop into Airtable, under Instagram ideas, we'll see that we have some freshly scraped ideas over here. Perfect. So we have 1 carousel and we have some reels as well with a decent viral score. So let's make 1 carousel and 1 reel. For under carousel, let's see what frameworks there are. Hook, educate, CTA, list, expand, summarize. I like the second framework, so I'm going to choose framework 2. And let's give it a command to generate content. This is going to trigger that automation. Let's go back in here and execute the workflow from the Gmail trigger. And we'll see that we have started the Instagram carousel creation. So it's generating the carousel idea, and then it's going to send us an email and ask us to confirm whether we like this or not. And we have received an email, Instagram post approval. Here's the carousel, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, slide 5, etc. Here's the caption that I have, hashtags, and this is an explanation from the AI why it works. This is the framework that we've chosen, and why the AI thinks that that this post is going to get good engagement. And we have to come down here, click respond, and fill this form. So either we can ask it to change something, or we can ask it to, or we can tell it that this is fine and proceed. So I'm just going to say, this looks good, submit. And if we go back in here, we'll see that we have analyzed our response, updated a record in Airtable with that entire post, and it went ahead and deleted that message just to keep the inbox nice and clean. So that's 1 carousel idea. Let's go back into Airtable and now do a reel idea as well. So if you come down here, let's see which one there is. Let's just use this one for demonstration purposes. So the before after bridge is a good framework to use. Framework 1, hit generate content. Now, if we run the workflow, we should start the Instagram reel generation. Same thing as earlier. It's going to generate the script, and then it's going to send us an email asking us to confirm whether we like that script or not. And then it'll go ahead and log that into Airtable. Instagram reel approval. Perfect. Here's the script. Amazing. Caption, hashtags, an explanation as to why it works, the framework, and why the AI thinks this is going to be engaging. Let's go ahead, click respond. This time looks good, submit, we come back in here, we'll see that it has continued and saved both records into Airtable. So if we go back to Airtable, click on Post Pipeline, you'll see that we now have 2 posts ready for us on Instagram. We have the description, we have a caption, we have the carousel content, slide-wise, amazing. We also have the script for our reel, hashtags. So this automation essentially does the work of an entire content research team. So let's dive in and see how this is built. This social media automation starts with Airtable. So I have an Airtable base here with 5 tables in it, an inspiration table, an Instagram ideas table, a LinkedIn ideas table, a TikTok ideas table, and a post pipeline. So everything starts with the inspiration table. In the first column, we're going to add a keyword or user. For Instagram, we need to input users, and for LinkedIn and TikTok, we can input keywords. Once you've loaded up all of your users and keywords, just go ahead and select which platform you want to do each one for. Set the status either as listening, and if you have a large list and you don't want to target a particular user or keyword, you can just go ahead and select that as paused instead. And for the minimum like and view count, you can really adjust this depending on your niche. So here is the workflow. The first half is Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok research. Now let me go ahead and talk you through how the research works. I have this set up to run on a schedule, but I've also got this set up to run on a manual trigger as well, in case we want to test it. Now the schedule trigger is set to run once every week. This is on Sunday at midnight. So when I wake up on Monday morning, I will have a populated list of ideas that I can then assess. This is the Instagram research workflow. First off, we're going to use the Airtable node and we're going to search for records. We have the social automation base, the inspiration table, and I have this formula here where platform is Instagram and status is listening. So platform, Instagram, status, listening. Once it gets the records, I'm using a Rapid API Instagram scraper, and I'll share the link to this in the description. We are going to hit this URL. Make sure you have your API key and everything set up. And I'm just going to pass in the username as the query. And that username is what we pulled from the Airtable result, right? Make sure you have your headers set here, X Rapid API host. And this is that particular scraper that we're using. Rapid API is paid, but they do have a free plan. If you're not going to do too much scraping, the free plan should be more than enough to get you started. Now this is going to pull a lot of results, so we need to, but it's going to be a single object. We need to split out that object into data.posts, and that is going to run through the filter. The filter I've set is the date, and this formula is basically 1 week from today. We're going to filter out all posts that are older than 1 week. Next, we have a second filter, and that filter is where the like count has to be greater than the minimum like count that we have set over here. So this way, we're ensuring that we are only getting high-performing posts over the past week. Next up, we need to have a switch node. And with this switch, we are going to split the workflow into carousels and reels. With this Rapid API, if it's a carousel, the product underscore type variable is going to be carousel container. If it's a reel, the product underscore type is going to be clips. So I've just renamed the outputs as well, carousel and reels. So let's go ahead and look at the carousel workflow first. So whatever number of items there are after these two filters, we're going to loop over those items. As we loop over the items, we're gonna make another request to Rapid API, and this time we're going to get post-info. Again, we're using the same credentials. In the queries, we need to pass in the code of that Instagram post, which is json.code. That's the unique identifier on Instagram. And we also have the headers as well. This is the same scraper. You don't need to use two separate scrapers so far. Next, we need to get the thumbnail. So this is a basic HTTP request just to get the thumbnail. And then we're going to throw that thumbnail into OpenAI's image analyzer using GPT, whichever GPT you want to use. As I'm recording this, GPT-5 is already out, so you can change this to GPT-5. And the prompt is very simple. What's the text in this image and how is the image designed? For example, is it a tweet, a post-it, so on. And the input type is a binary file, which we will get from this HTTP request. Next up, we're going to message a model. This time, we're going to pass in the content from that analysis, and we want to redo the output as text from image and the design, whatever that description is. Next up, we're going to take a code node, and we are just going to return the number of items. So this edges variable is how many images are in that Instagram carousel. So all we want to know is the number of images in the carousel, and then we have another LLM chain. And in this, we're going to analyze the content of that carousel. So you're an expert social media content analyst, specializing in carousel post optimization. Your task is to analyze carousel posts across multiple dimensions and provide actionable framework suggestions for maximum engagement and virality. So we want to pass in the text from the first image. We also want to pass in the design style, which we got from the We also want to pass in the caption of that Instagram post, which we got from the Rapid API, and also the number of carousel images. And this prompt is going to analyze the content of that carousel and the theme of that carousel. And it's going to try to provide a few frameworks that then you can use to replicate on your own account. And I'll show you some of the results that I have in the existing Airtable. Finally, it just logs all of those results to Airtable. And let me go ahead and show you an example of that. So if you go over to Instagram ideas, we'll see that we do have 3 carousels from an earlier scrape. This carousel has 20 slides. So we've logged the URL, the post ID. This is the caption of the post. And this is the caption of the inspiration post. And the script here is the content of the first slide. We've also given it a viral score, which the AI determines based on the rules that we've provided. Here are the primary strengths of that post. And these are 3 idea frameworks that then you can use for your own post inspired by this carousel. Well, this is one framework. This is a second framework. And this here is a third framework. So as this is done, it's just going to loop back and start on the next item until all the carousels are done. And then we're going to go into Reels. Now for Reels, it's the same thing as before. We're making an HTTP request to that same endpoint where we're getting the post info. But this time, we're going to use the code node. And from that code node, we need to go ahead and grab the audio URL. And if you're interested in this template, just go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll be more than happy to share this entire template with you so you don't need to worry about any of the coding or anything. Now, this is going to find that exact audio URL that we want to download because we're going to get a transcript of that. And this HTTP request is then going to download that audio URL. And then we're going to throw it into OpenAI. OpenAI will transcribe that audio, so we have the entire script of that reel. And finally, we're going to do another AI analysis. This time, we're going to pass in the caption of the Instagram post, and we're also going to pass in the script of the post. And we've given it a framework and for it to give us suggestions as to how we can best make our similar scripts that can hopefully go as viral as this one. So this is the entire prompt. There it is. And these results are again logged to Airtable. And then we loop back until we complete all of the items. So that is Instagram analysis. And let me go back into Airtable and I'll show you an example of a reel analysis. So this one is a reel here. So here is the caption. This is the entire script that we got, all transcribed from the downloaded file. It also has a viral score. It's also extracted the primary strengths as to why it feels that this script is so effective. And there are 3 idea frameworks as well. So basically what's happening is every week, once this automation runs, you'll have a whole list of Instagram ideas. You'll have a whole list of TikTok ideas. And you'll have a whole list of LinkedIn ideas. And you'll also have a list of TikTok ideas as well. And I'll briefly go over how I've set up the LinkedIn and TikTok scraping as well. Now, from these three results, whichever post you like and you feel that you want to add into your pipeline to create content around, you just go ahead and choose a framework out of these three. Obviously, you can modify this and choose another one as well. And go ahead and select an action. Now, from here, we're just going to either reject it or select generate content. Now, once you've selected a framework and you've chosen generate content, it's going to fire off an email which will trigger the next part of this workflow, which is actually creating the content. So before I get into that, I'm going to quickly show you how the LinkedIn scraper and the TikTok scraper works, and then we'll dive into how the post creation pipeline works. All right, so now let's look at how we scrape LinkedIn posts. So if you go back to the Airtable, you'll see that under inspiration, we are searching for keywords in LinkedIn. And this time the minimum like count is 25. Let's go ahead back into n8n. So we search for a record. It's the same thing as above, except the platform is now LinkedIn. And remember, the status also has to be listening because you can disable statuses if you need to. So this is going to pull a list of keywords, and then we're going to run an actor with Apify. The actor in question is the LinkedIn post search scraper. No cookies. This is the one. It's fairly cheap as well. Let's open it up. And you'll see that it is $5 for 1,000 results. So it's fairly cheap. So if we go back into the workflow, this time the date filter is past week. We pass in the keyword that we pulled from Airtable, and the limit is 50. Now, depending on your niche, you might not always get to 50, right? You might also get fewer results. I found that having a limit in place is helpful because if there are at least 50, it's going to pull up 50. Otherwise, sometimes these scrapers end up getting fewer results than expected. Leave everything else blank, and that's that. Then once the actor is done, we're going to get a run by the run ID from the earlier output. Next, we're going to get the dataset items, default dataset ID, that's the variable. And this is basically going to be an entire list of all of the LinkedIn posts that we have pulled for this keyword from the past week. So we're going to add a filter where the total reactions has to be greater than the minimum like count. So that's going to filter out a lot of the lower engagement posts and only leave you with the high engagement ones. Next up, as we did earlier with Instagram, we're going to loop over each and every one of these items. So in the loop, we are just going to throw in the content of the post where we have the text, the author, and the headline. And this is really important in LinkedIn because it gives a lot of context as to what kind of individual was creating the content and who were they creating content for. We also have content type, whether this was just a text post, an image post, a video post. And we also have all of the engagement stats. So we have total reactions, X comments, X number of shares, and these were the hashtags that were used. And we have another analysis framework similar to before, and the output is going to be JSON like this. And again, if you want this prompt and indeed the entire template, all you have to do is just leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. So let's click back out. So from all of that analysis, we're going to drop all of that into Airtable, this time into LinkedIn ideas. So we're just going to drop in all of these variables from the loop node, which is actually pulling it from the Apify scraper. And then these down here are from the LLM output. And then it's going to keep looping over that until all of the posts that it's pulled are complete. And if we pop back over to Airtable, we'll be able to see an example of how this looks. So if we now go into LinkedIn ideas, we'll have the post URL, we have the user, the number of reactions, the post type. This is the content from that original post. These are hashtags, if any. Then there's a LinkedIn score that is calculated by the AI. And these are the primary strengths of that post. And we also have optional frameworks for us to build our posts. So framework 1, framework 2, and framework 3. And as we did earlier, You just need to select the framework and give it a status, and that will trigger the content creation automation. Next up, let's look at TikTok. So this time, again, we're going to search by keyword. The platform is TikTok. Status is listening. I prefer using view counts on TikTok because on TikTok, a large number of views is generally a better indication of virality than maybe the number of likes and comments. So we have a minimum like and view count. And again, you can adjust this according to whatever industry and niche you are targeting. Next up, so now let's go back into n8n and I'll show you how the TikTok scraper works. It's very similar to earlier. We are going to search records, same as before, except this time it's going to be TikTok. Then we are going to run an actor. This time it's the TikTok scraper actor. And I'll just open this up so you can see which one it is. So the TikTok scraper is pay-per-event. Again, it's very cheap. And if we scroll down, we'll see that there's a lot of things we're actually sending in the body, but really this is just all default. All we're really changing are the search queries. So once all of this is done, we are going to get that run, see that it's completed, and then get the data set items, which is everything that the Appify actor has scraped. And then we're going to run through two filters. So filter number one, where the play count has to be greater than that minimum count that we provided in Airtable over here. And the second filter is where the music meta.music name is original sound. Now, this is kind of a hack that I've had to do. And this is because we need to extract the transcript from this video. Now, if music name is not original sound and it's something else, chances are higher that there isn't much dialogue in the video, and instead it's just a text overlay on some video or some images, and there's some music in the background. So if music name is original sound, it's highly likely that the video contains original dialogue and a proper script instead of just background music and visual text. So once we run those two filters, we're going to loop over the items again. And for TikTok, there are a few extra steps involved. I'm going to show you the way that I did it. And if you don't have a local install or your self-hosted n8n, there's another way that you can do it. And I'll share that with you after I've explained this. This time we're using Rapid API again, TikTok API 2.3. That's the one that we're using. And we only want to get the music info from that TikTok post because all we're looking for is really the audio to transcribe and get the script out of. So we're passing a query after your header and your authentication. It all has to be in place. We're passing the music ID query, and that'll be the music meta.music ID variable, right? And this, you need to pass this header as well, which is that particular Rapid API scraper that we're going for. This is going to pull the downloadable file for the audio of that TikTok post. And then we're going to do another HTTP request, and that's the play URL. And the play URL is going to give us an audio file, or that at least that's what we hope. But the issue that we run into here is that the play URL actually yields an MP4 file and not an MP3 file. Now, MP4 files, as you know, are video files. They're not audio files. So if you try to pass that MP4 file directly into OpenAI, it's going to throw an error. So basically, what I had to do is install FFmpeg on my I had to install FFmpeg in my n8n instance and then use FFmpeg to convert that MP4 file into an MP3 file, and then upload that MP3 file to transcribe and get the script for, and then use that MP3 file for the transcription. And if you don't want to do all of these extra steps, or if you're using n8n Cloud, there are certain FFmpeg APIs that you can connect to, and using those APIs, you can do the conversion in the cloud and just directly get the MP3 file. But that will add to the cost of your overall workflow. Now, remember, I'm just walking you through one video, but if you have multiple keywords, you may end up processing, 10, 15, 20 videos every single week, and those costs can add up. So what's happening here is we're saving the video file, the MP4 file, into a temporary folder on the disk /tmp/audio.mp4. Then we're going to read that particular file, and then we're going to execute a command. Now, this command is telling FFmpeg to take this audio.mp4 file, go ahead and convert that into an MP3 file. And then the resulting file is saved in the same folder. So we have to read the files again to get that binary, and we're going to upload that binary into OpenAI. Now, the reason that I had to do all this headache is that OpenAI's transcription does not accept a URL. You have to upload the file. So once we transcribe the file, the remaining steps are the same as we did for Instagram and LinkedIn. We have a analysis prompt where we're going to pass in the description from TikTok. We're going to pass in the transcript, and we're also going to pass in the play count, and we're going to tell it to analyze it for TikTok and kind of figure out what was it about this particular what was it about this piece of content that made it so appealing for TikTok. And then we're going to add all of that to Airtable. And the last step is just to go ahead and empty that TMP, that temporary folder that we had made, so that our disk does not fill up. So once that's done, the loop will close, and we're going to repeat that until we've gone through all of the posts that matched our filters. And if we go back into Airtable, we'll see that we have TikTok ideas as well. We have the post ID, the URL, the user that made that post. We also have a description of this post, the transcript. Here it is, how long the post was. We also have a TikTok score, primary strengths, 3 frameworks. And if you want to go ahead and generate content, you just have to select a framework out of these 3 and set the status as generate content, or reject the ones that you don't like. So now that we have the analysis out of the way, let me show you how we actually generate the content. So as we saw here, you have to select a framework, and you have to set the status as generate content. Now, to trigger the content generation pipeline, we have to set up an automation inside of Airtable. So if you go ahead and click on automations, you can create a new automation. Let me show you the Instagram one that I have. So when a record matches conditions where the table is Instagram ideas and the selected framework is not empty and the action is generate content, if these conditions match, you want to send an email. So we're going to send an email. This is just my email address that I'm using. Give it a subject, Instagram content generation. And we also have to pass in the content of that email as well, which is the post type, the caption, the script, and it's getting all of this from that matching record. And it's going to go ahead and shoot over an email to my inbox. Now, once I receive that email, that will then trigger the content generation pipeline. So I've set up a Gmail trigger. So every time I receive an email, it's going to trigger the workflow. But then I have a switch to make sure that every email doesn't trigger the rest of the workflow. And I have some filters set up inside the switch. So let me go ahead and walk you through those filters. First one is, if the post type is carousel, then it means it's an Instagram carousel. If the email body contains this particular string, post type carousel, which is only for which I've set up to only be in Instagram, then this is an Instagram carousel. If the email body contains post type reel, then it's an Instagram reel. If the subject of the email contains LinkedIn, then it'll go down the LinkedIn path. If the subject of the email contains TikTok, then it'll go down that TikTok path. Now, actually, to make this even more foolproof, we should actually modify the filters so that the email contains the exact description over here. Let's go ahead and just do that. So instead of contains, it has to be is equal to LinkedIn content generation. And then only it'll be LinkedIn. Otherwise, if somebody else sends me an email and just has the word LinkedIn in it, it's going to trigger the workflow. And we don't want that to happen. Next up, for TikTok, let's go ahead and change that as well. Send an email. Same thing, TikTok content generation in the subject. Copy. Let's go ahead and paste that in here. Perfect. So that makes our workflow a little bit more foolproof. Let's go ahead and save that. Now, depending on the type of post that we're creating, it's going to go down one of 4 paths. So the first path is the Instagram carousel. So if we go down this path, first off, we are going to edit fields where we're going to create a prompt. Now, we need to add this set fields node, edit fields node here, because we're going to add a human in the loop node up ahead. So I have a carousel generator prompt. The input analysis is the text of the email, which is all the information that we're feeding into it. And here is the output that we're expecting. So we have, since this is a carousel, we have the number of slides, the text and visual notes for each slide, as well as some image generation prompts as well. We're going to throw in the prompt that we generated here, which is all of this set of instructions. And then from here, the output again is going to be saved as JSON.output. Next up, we're going to send an email to ourselves again, and the operation is send and wait for response. And in the body of the email, we're just parsing the output from that LLM chain to split the text of all of the slides. We're also passing in the caption, the hashtags, as well as the AI explanation for why it works, which framework it is, and why that analysis suggests that this is going to be a very engaging post. And below that, there's going to be a button. So when you click that button, it's going to open up a form. And in that form, you can either approve or suggest changes. Now, if you approve, it's just going to go further down. It's going to, this LLM chain is going to determine that you have approved the post, and it's just going to move further down and save that idea into Airtable. And then it's going to delete that earlier message that it receives so your inbox stays clean. If you wanted some changes, so this is going to determine what the changes are. So this is going to generate some instructions for what kind of changes that you're actually looking for. And then we're going to edit fields again, call it feedback, and feed this node back into another LLM chain. So this is the edit LLM chain. And here we're going to provide it the original post idea. We're also going to provide it the original caption, the original hashtags. I made a mistake here. And we're also providing it user feedback, which it got from the Gmail form. So redo the post according to the user's feedback and output as JSON. And here is all of the carousel content. There it is. And that is going to just feed back into this. It's going to send you another email, ask you for approval again. And this whole cycle is going to keep repeating itself until you approve that content. And once approved, it's going to create a record in Airtable and delete that message. We're going to follow a similar pattern for Instagram Reels as well. It's the same thing, except we've just modified the prompt. So instead of carousels, we're now asking it for a script idea. And it's the same exact logic, create a record, and finally delete the message. Same thing for LinkedIn, except the prompt has just been modified to be optimized for LinkedIn. Same logic, and then it's going to create a record in Airtable. And finally, for TikTok, again, it's the same logic. It's going to process everything, create a record, and finally delete the message. It's a pretty long workflow, but overall, the mechanics of what's happening is fairly simple. If you choose the right keywords for LinkedIn and TikTok, and you choose the right people to get inspiration from on Instagram, and you put that into Airtable, every week, this automation is going to give you multiple ideas that then you can choose to create content around. And then all you have to do every Monday or whatever time you set this trigger on is to pop over into Airtable once this automation is done. Go to Instagram ideas, choose whichever ones you wanna do. Next up, go to LinkedIn ideas, choose whichever one you want to do. Go to TikTok ideas, choose whichever one you want to do. As you choose which ones you want to work with, it's going to trigger the content generation workflow. And once done, your results are going to end up in the post pipeline. So you're going to have a post, a platform, the description and the caption, the carousel content and script, hashtags, and an image prompt if applicable.